Actual superpower doing superpower things 30 years ago. Close your eyes if you're Russian. Okay, this is probably not copyright. Yes, as I understand it, basically back in the day, we simply we engaged in geoengineering by turning the air above Iraq into 30% steel. The Highway of Death was a very apt name for one area of the conflict. Yeah, we do a little war crimes, casually. We casually and indifferently end human lives with no regard for morality. Here's the OG video, it's so good. Anyway, the point of this video is that Russia was never able to establish air superiority over Ukraine, whereas we just filled Iraq. We just replaced their clouds with planes for the Gulf War. Or day one animated? Holy shit.
Nations send a total of approximately 1 million military personnel to Saudi Arabia.
Hold on, wait, I'm sorry, just a second. I'm sorry, hold on. I've never seen this channel. If other people know what this is, then...
Take off from Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. In 35 hours' time, when they return, a war will have started, and they will have set a new record for the longest bombing raid in history. A year prior, in 1990, high levels of oil production in the state of Kuwait and other Arab nations are depressing global oil prices. Because of its economic dependency on oil revenue, neighbouring Iraq is struggling to pay $14 billion debts on loans used to finance its war with Iran.
Wait, can we watch... Wait, hold on. I'm kicking in. If this isn't copyright, can we watch this for a bit? I want to watch this one. I want to watch maybe one other war. Not a big one like World War II or something. Yeah.
In the 1980s. It has come to the point where Iraq is now even struggling to pay for basic government spending. Dating from the fall of the Ottoman Empire after World War I, Iraq has maintained sovereign claims over Kuwait. An accusation that Kuwait is slant drilling Iraqi oil fields gives Iraqi President Saddam Hussein an excuse to invade and annex the small nation on the...
That was a totally bullshit claim, by the way, right? Was there ever any evidence found of that? That the Kuwaits were literally using some underground fucking silly straw to, like, sneak out the... slurp up the Iraqi oil from under the border? Yeah, that was some fucking bullshit right there. Drink your milkshake.
On the 2nd of August 1990. Following international condemnation and sanctions, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and US President George H.W. Bush begin to deploy forces to Saudi Arabia, urging other countries to do the same. A UN resolution passes, giving Iraq a deadline of the 15th of January 1991.
So you guys understand the real politics at play here. We supported Kuwait depressing global oil prices because we like it when oil is cheap. Iraq didn't like that because their economy is totally dependent on oil. The only reason we intervened to defend Kuwait is because we wanted to keep oil cheap and keep Saddam Hussein from keeping it artificially high. This is only being done for economics. Saddam Hussein could have personally raped and killed every single Kuwait citizen, and we would not have cared as long as the oil prices remain low.
To completely withdraw from Kuwait. The buildup of coalition forces in Saudi Arabia is called Operation Desert Shield.
So this was a war over oil? Yes. I don't think Iraq 2003 was that much over oil. This was a war over oil.
Over a period of 6 months, 35 nations send a total of approximately 1 million military personnel to Saudi Arabia, the largest military alliance since World War II.
Jesus Christ.
2,230...
That's what it takes. All the massacres around the world since World War II, all of the death and suffering, what brings the world together to delete a country off the map? Keeping oil cheap.
30 coalition aircraft are sent to bases in Saudi Arabia, and 6 carrier battle groups are deployed in the region. The coalition war plan is first to wage an air war to achieve dominance of the skies above Iraq, and to strike targets to degrade the Iraqi military for when the ground invasion is launched some weeks later. The first day of the air assault will be the most risky. Iraq has a very dangerous arsenal of air defense systems. 154 SAM sites with 16,000 missiles defend Iraq, alongside a further 972 anti-aircraft artillery guns, 2,404 fixed AA guns, and 6,100 mobile AA guns.
Do AA guns even threaten like modern bombers? I could be totally off on this. Aren't like all modern anti-air systems missile based? They do? Okay, I don't know if like modern bombers are just like 5 billion miles above the ground or something, or like there's no reasonable way to hit them reliably.
Baghdad is likely the most heavily defended city in the world. 478 early warning radars watch the skies for coalition aircraft, with command and control centres ready to scramble the Iraqi Air Force's 550 combat aircraft to respond. The priority for day one of the air campaign will be to degrade the enemy's air defence systems. The deadline passes, and a day later the Great Air Assault on Iraq is put into motion. H hour, the start of the air war, is scheduled for 2:38 AM on the 17th of January. 2 hours before H hour, the B-52s are nearing the end of their long journey from Louisiana, and an enormous armada of aircraft is taking off all over Saudi Arabia and from carriers in the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf. 2 flights of helicopters, each with a single Pave-Low Special Operations helicopter and 4 Apache attack helicopters, cross the border at low level. Their call sign is Task Force Normandy. Their job is to sneak up on and shoot up 2 key enemy radar positions.
There.
This will cut a vital gap in the radar coverage through which the coalition strike aircraft can stream into Iraq to hit their targets. E-2 and E-3 airborne warning and control aircraft, referred to as AWACS, are orbiting near the border, directing operations and keeping an eye on Iraqi airspace. Air-to-air refueling tankers are now refueling the aircraft of the enormous First Striking Force over Saudi Arabia. For the last few months, large formations of coalition aircraft have massed every night near the border, so as not to cause a specific alarm in the enemy command structure when the air war does start. What Iraqi radars can't see tonight is the further formations of aircraft massing further away from the border.
If there's any lesson we should be taking from this, it's like comparing this to Russian logistics 30 years later.
At low level. F-117 stealth aircraft have also crossed the border unescorted and head for Baghdad. It's unclear whether their stealth technology will be potent enough to cloak them from the massive fire control radars around the heavily defended city. They are to hit key communications infrastructure in the city, hindering central military commanders' ability to coordinate their air defense sites around the country. One of the main targets is the International Communications Center in central Baghdad, through which 50% of all military comms traffic is routed. These vital strikes are needed to protect the main assault aircraft when they attack in the coming hours.
We bomb the other side of the planet with non-stop flight, and Russia can't fight 50 miles from their border. Yeah, like do you guys remember the picture from Mexico that I showed, where like Russia getting bagged down 50 miles from their border would be like us invading Mexico and getting like stopped in the desert before you even hit the cities? Yeah, it's and meanwhile from the other side of the world, we just casually vaporized a country.
In the end, the stealth bombers circle Baghdad undetected, waiting for H hour.
Jesus.
A few minutes before H hour, the US Air Force fires the first shots of the war, launching 35 AGM-86 cruise missiles from the Barksdale B-52s at communication sites and power plants. Simultaneously, coalition naval battle groups begin launching Tomahawk cruise missiles at mainly communications targets in Baghdad.
Oyo, oyo,
2 of the ships launching Tomahawks, the USS Missouri and Wisconsin, are battleships that first saw service in World War II, and will serve their country once more. The Tomahawks will navigate to their targets using an onboard system that identifies and follows known landmarks and terrain contours on the route to the target. Because much of the direct route to Baghdad from the Persian Gulf is flat desert, the cruise missiles must follow a longer easterly route over more hilly, trackable terrain near the Iranian border. The missiles fly at subsonic speed, so while these are the first shots to be fired, the US Army would have the honour of the first shots to explode. The 2 groups of Apaches arrive near 2 radar sites 30 seconds.
You know they timed it out for that too. Like somewhere in the coalition planning room, the war room, there's some like American general with a flat top haircut, a gigantic cigar that he's chewing on, where he's like planning everything out to make sure that no matter what, it's American munitions that detonate against their targets first. 100%.
Seconds early, and come to hover in lines of 4 abreast. As they wait for precisely 2:38 AM, they watch the compound through their infrared cameras. At first, it appears that the Iraqis are oblivious to their presence, but with 10 seconds to go, the compound's lights go out, and figures are observed running around outside. At 2:38 AM, H-hour, Desert Storm begins. The Apaches unleash a furious rain of destruction on the radar installations. Hellfire missiles are first aimed at power generators. Further Hellfires and 70mm rockets are fired on radar dishes, command vehicles, and communications antennas, as the attack helicopters move in closer.
Do we know how long they planned it, or they just have plans for attacking every country pre-made? It's probably reasonable to assume that the Pentagon has plans for managing the invasion of most countries on Earth at any point in time, and they probably get updated as felt needed. And like, countries will never reasonably need to invade. They probably have some ancient plans from like the 50s or something, you know? But we probably keep pretty modern plans on invasion for countries that there's a reasonable likelihood we might actually do that for, yeah. I mean, they get paid a lot. They're in an office all day, you know. Gotta do something.
They expend everything they have on the site. Such is the importance to knock out the radar, the Apache crews then move in closer still and engage whatever is left standing with 30mm cannon. An enormous explosion ends the attack when an ammunitions dump is hit by cannon fire. During the 4 minutes of destruction, 27 Hellfires, 100 rockets, and 4,000 cannon rounds have been unleashed on the sites. The crews report in total destruction of the two sites for no loss. They turn back to the border. The first aircraft of the first strike wave screams overhead. The air war is underway. 3 EF-111 radar jamming aircraft rush towards Baghdad to provide jamming support for the F-117s in case they are detected. With coalition aircraft streaming into Iraq, it's crucial that the stealth bombers knock out comms infrastructure. To maintain stealth, the F-117s are unable to use their radios to report on progress. Commanders at the Coalition Tactical Air Control Center, the TAC, won't know if the crucial task has been successfully completed until the aircraft are near the Saudi border on their return journey. The strike aircraft will be deep inside Iraq by then. But this is the first major war to take place during the new age of communications and international live television. Believing the imminent start of the new conflict after the UN deadline passing, live news channels have sent reporters into Baghdad. At the TAC, they spot that a reporter is live on CNN, reporting hearing aircraft over the city. The news streams almost definitely route through the International Communications Center.
I have so much fucking respect for wartime live correspondence, dude. Holy shit, that's got to be a very stressful job. Shout out to Dylan Burns over there, near the front in Ukraine. Yeah, the just being anywhere near that shit, man. This is a ton of info on direct plan/info. How'd someone get this? Isn't this kept uber classified? No, not at all. Once a war actually begins, it's almost impossible to keep operations top secret. Once stuff actually happens, it's pretty easy to know what. There's always ways to track what's going on. You can't really hide it. The usually, like, stuff that's kept secret, you know, it's not like part of the main, like, battle group or battle plans or whatever. This happened like 30 years ago, yeah.
Primary target for the F-117s. CNN is put up on the large screens in the TAC. At 0300, the precise moment the first bomb should be falling on target, CNN loses.
US command was waiting for the CNN feed to cut to know they were successful. That's fucking wild. Imagine being like in the fucking Pentagon coordinating this shit, and you're you're like waiting to like get back returns, or like results on whether or not the attack on the broadcasting tower was successful, and the fastest way to do that is just be watching CNN, because as soon as that feed cuts, you know the tower just went down. That's insane. That's some like phenomenal Heart of Darkness, like real war shit right there. Isn't that super illegal to bomb media sites? No. Like the communication infrastructure, not the like broadcasting center itself. They didn't kill the CNN journalists. They were destroying the towers that broadcast the radio signal, which you always want to do, by the way. Yeah, no, they didn't bomb the office. They hit the broadcasting tower. But you always want to knock out comms. You know, if you're doing a military.
Is the live feed from their reporter on the ground. A cheer erupts at the TAC. The first F-117 strikes stir the hornet's nest, and 2,000 anti-aircraft guns in Baghdad open fire into the night sky. Stealth can protect the aircraft from radar-guided missiles, but blindly fired anti-aircraft fire in such volume will be equally deadly if a lucky direct hit is scored. They dropped 17 paveway guided bombs on 13 targets, radio towers, command bunkers, and a palace just outside the city, incorrectly believed to have been housing Saddam Hussein himself.
Whoops.
Shortly after, the first of 116 Navy-launched Tomahawks begin to fall on Baghdad, hitting party headquarters, a Scud ballistic missile factory, another presidential palace, and other targets of importance. A British journalist watches from his Baghdad hotel window as a Tomahawk screams past him at eye level down the street and hits the Ministry of Defence building at the end of it. Some Tomahawks carry special warheads which contain long strips of carbon filament. These missiles fly over power transformers and switching stations and release these strips into them, causing the electrical components to spark, short out, and burst into flame.
What the fuck? That's insane! I didn't know that was a thing. Holy sh! I have to hear that again.
These missiles fly over power transformers and switching stations and release these strips into them, causing the electrical components to spark, short out, and burst into flames.
This was 30 years ago. Can you imagine the insane bullshit we have now? Yeah, it literally might as well just be magic. Yeah, like, oh yeah, dude, we put like magic metal in our missiles and it makes all of your computers explode if it even gets close to them. Okay, sure, great. Thanks, America. Thank you. Thanks. Great.
5 electrical facilities are hit. The B-52 launched cruise missiles fall on further communication sites and power generation facilities, including the Al Musayyib Thanal power plant. After a grueling flight across the Atlantic and Mediterranean to get here, the B-52s will now fly back to Louisiana without landing. The 14,000-mile mission takes 35 hours, requiring 57 tanker sorties, a demonstration of American global reach.
Literally, take off in Louisiana, fly to the opposite end of the planet, do a bombing run, fly back without landing. Insane!
With Iraqi command and control seriously degraded, the 668-strong first wave of strike aircraft with fighter escort begin hitting military targets across Iraq. SAM sites, Scud missile sites, command and control bunkers, and airfields. RAF Tornado and US Navy F-14 interceptor aircraft. Yeah,
these graphite bombs. Intended to be a non-lethal weapon used to disable an electrical grid. The bomb works... This is why they didn't want to use pencils in the ISS, by the way. The bomb works by spreading a dense cloud of extremely fine, chemically treated carbon filaments over air-insulated high-voltage installations, causing short circuits and subsequent disruption of the electrical supply in an area, a region, or even an entire small country. Jesus fuck! It's like it's not really an EMP, but it's still really fucking cool like one, you know? Jesus.
Patrol the Iraqi border and orbit Iraqi Air Force bases waiting for the enemy fighters to come out to fight. One formation, a strike package of F-15E Strike Eagles, escorted by F-15C fighters and an EF-111 radar jamming aircraft, hit Scud missile launch sites in the western desert, attempting to prevent Scud launches against nearby Israel. With the alarm now raised, the Iraqi Air Force is in the air defending their nation, setting up combat air patrols near key installations. With the strikes against the launchers underway, an F-15 detects a single Iraqi Mirage fighter nearby and destroys it with a Sparrow missile. Another Mirage moves in close behind the low-flying EF-111 and fires a missile. The 111 makes a violent turn and evades. At this point, an F-15 above spots the hostile aircraft and dives in to engage. Spotting the attacking Eagle, the Mirage itself makes a violent maneuver to evade the American fighter, but in doing so crashes into the ground.
No!
The unarmed EF-111 pilot is credited with a maneuvering
kill.
kill.
Hurricane Ian's made contact.
Another F-15C Eagle has just crossed the border into Iraq, and the pilot...
But how can Hurricane Ian have made contact while I'm live streaming right now? Or is this pre-recorded?
Detects a distant, unidentified contact on his radar. Rules of engagement require the pilot to ask one of the E-3 command and control aircraft for permission to fire. The contact begins to maneuver aggressively, and the E-3 grants permission to fire. The long-range Sparrow missile flies into the distance, and the pilot sees the fireball as it detonates. The enemy aircraft downed is a modern and dangerous MiG-29 Fulcrum, piloted by a veteran of the Iran-Iraq War with 3 kills on his record.
Oh.
A flight of F-4G Wild Weasel aircraft are some of the many aircraft on their way to Baghdad to attack radar sites and SAM sites. Because of the volume of coalition assets in the area, the escorting F-15s are constantly investigating potentially hostile contacts that turn out to be friendly. After a few false alarms, Captain Steve Tate finally finds an enemy Mirage. He engages with a Sparrow.
So many goddamn planes. Yeah, it's weird to think about, but if I remember correctly, the Gulf War actually contained the single largest mechanized infantry conflict in the history of humanity. I think more tanks were deployed and doing battle with each other in the Gulf War than in any other human conflict. You know, Saddam Hussein did what he could with his military, and there were some real fucking battles there. I think we lost something like 20 tanks, and 17 of which were to friendly fire. Our tanks were so hilariously overbuilt compared to theirs, that their shells would literally ricochet off direct hits, and ours would just like vaporize them through. And they would, and most of the ones we lost were due to friendly fire. Hold on. Tanks lost in Gulf War. We destroyed over 3,000 tanks, 1,400 APCs, and 2,200 artillery pieces, along with countless other vehicles. This was achieved at a cost to the United States of 96 soldiers killed in action. Yeah, this was this was like the big conflict for the M1 Abrams. Hold on. A total of 23 M1A1s were damaged or destroyed during the war. Of the 9 Abrams tanks destroyed, 7 were destroyed by friendly fire, and 2 were intentionally destroyed to prevent capture. None of them were actually destroyed by the Iraqi army. None of them. Not one. Every single one that was destroyed was either through friendly fire or to keep them from falling into enemy hands. The M1A1 Abrams is like an indestructible bunker. Yeah, I don't even, like, they're insane. It's insane. Why so much friendly fire? Usually because people in the air don't always have perfect info on what's going on the ground. I mean, you're like flying overhead and you see something really scary looking. I mean, destroy to prevent capture is basically a kill. No. The distinction is that, like, the Iraqi army literally did not have the tools capable of breaching the the armor of these tanks. Like they were so strong. Like, you can knock out the treads on an Abrams. Like, any tank can have its treads knocked out, right? Like, if you're fleeing a position and you are leaving tanks behind, right? But like, these things are so strong that they just could not. Yeah, the A-10s cause most of the friendly fire, yeah. Fuck, dude. These are the same tanks being used in Ukraine? I don't think there are no, there aren't M1s in Ukraine. Did we give them M1s? Did we give Ukraine M1A1s? No, right? I don't think we've yet invented a device capable of lifting these things over. I think we should. No. No, I don't think Abrams would work that well in Ukraine. They'd all like fucking sink into the mud or some shit. Yeah. I meant the Russian tanks they had. Well, the Russian tanks that are being used are Soviet tanks, and Soviet tanks wouldn't be able to scratch these things. Sorry, that sounds a bit chauvinistic, but I actually do mean that. Technology has come a long way. Soviet tanks made in the 60s would not be able to do anything against modern American battle tanks. Or at the very least, it would not be a very fair... the Iraqis were using Soviet tanks. Yeah, and look how it worked for them. And look how it went for them.
Missile, and the fireball confirms the kill. Multiple flights of aircraft are inbound to Baghdad to attack salmon radar sites. Given the heavy air defences around the city, this could be a treacherous task.
This is nonsense, please stop being cringe. Okay, guys, holy shit, stop. You're so fucking annoying. Obviously, an explosion from a tank shell can destroy an Abrams. It's just, it doesn't happen because our tanks are so good, okay? Like, yes, it is possible for a shell fired from like a 72 to destroy an Abrams, but it is a hilarious mismatch in terms of the effectiveness of these vehicles. That's all I'm saying. This isn't chauvinism. You have to know this, right? Like, this is why you can make a T-72 with scrap parts in your backyard. I hope you can tell I'm joking. Whereas an Abrams is like the product of the world's most wealthy society pumping trillions into its military. It's like it's a hilarious mismatch in terms of the capabilities here. Again, 3,000 tanks lost by the Iraqi army, Soviet made, and they didn't destroy a single Abrams. Yeah, the big key, though, with the expensive tanks like an Abrams is that you need to maintain them constantly. Especially with that ablative armor, right? Because, like, modern battle tanks have ablative armor, which means that rather than just having, like, a metal plate on the side, if it detects a rocket or whatever heading towards it, there will be an explosive fired from the armor that will pre-detonate the explosive midair rather than allowing it to penetrate the armor. And you need to replace that. Maintaining an Abrams is really expensive. Yeah. What, for real? Yeah. That's, oh, sorry, nope. Ablative armor is the wrong thing. It's reactive armor. My apologies. Ablative armor is also a new and cool thing, but reactive armor is what I am thinking of. Ablative armor is when the armor like sort of gets shelled off in a specific way to minimize damage to the armor.
Tank is explosive warhead, like or RPG. The explosion is focused on the copper lining, creating a jet of molten copper that punches through armor.
We're going to have about 10 inches of armor, fire the warhead right next to that armor, and cut a jet.
Is on high-speed cameras.
Woo! That's why you gotta react to your armors, boys.
It's all over in a flash. The only way to see what's happening is on high-speed cameras.
You did.
At an incredible 10,000 pictures a second, we can see that the copper jet slices through the 10 inches of steel. Examines the armor. Once the metal has cooled, Romero examines the armor. The jet has cut a small hole in one side, but has not pierced the whole way through.
See? Because it blew up preemptively.
Outward. Exploding armor is triggered by the initial impact of the shell. It blasts outward, neutralizing the effect of the impact before it ever reaches.
Wacky.
US Navy aircraft make their first major play of the night. A-6 intruders to the west launched decoy glider drones towards the city, intended to trick the defending SAM sites into switching on their radars. It worked.
Abrams don't care about anything. Oh, fuck. Combat footage. ISIS RPG gunner scores a track hit on Iraqi M1A1. Good luck. Warrior of Allah. We're rooting for you. Get those fucking infidels. Oh, no, 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 no. Wow, that didn't do shit. That didn't do anything. Holy shit. You know that's how that guy felt when the tank stopped for a second and then just started backing up slowly. Like, I fucking rolled over a rock. The treads are fucked, surely? Maybe. Treads on modern tanks are pretty, pretty strong. God, that's fucking... Oh, God. Whew. No, that was a really good hit, too. That was a hit on the track, and then the track kept moving. Like, that was a hit on the weak part of the tank, you know? Probably an export model, so not as good as what the US uses. As a general rule of thumb, you can assume that if you see a piece of equipment being used by the US military, we probably have a better version of it somewhere in a lab.
And many surface-to-air missiles are launched against them. The Iraqis believe they've scored multiple kills. What they don't see are the US Navy FA-18 Hornet.
Fuck, you guys are linking videos that I know are going to be funny to watch. Warriors of Allah, this is your chance. Take out these Imperials. This is not an Abrams. This is, what is this, a Bradley? Is this a Bradley? Yeah, M2 Bradley. This isn't even them getting... this is just them getting shot at. There's no comedic value here.
Armed with high-speed
Oh,
anti-radar
BMP-2, not
missiles,
Bradley? Okay.
HARMs, coming in behind. The HARMs lock onto the radar signals coming from the SAM sites on the ground.
I thought
as they engage the
BMP-2
drones.
stood for Bradley
A further 37 BQM-74 jet-powered drones
MP2.
approach from the south and orbit the city. Some are shot down by MiGs, but the rest are tracked and engaged by the SAM sites on the ground. The F-4s and FA-18s move in and launch 75 HARMs, destroying approximately 35 installations. The idea of offering bait drone aircraft to the air defences for the Wild Weasels to engage is that of Brigadier General Larry Pooh-Bah Henry. The engagement during Desert Storm becomes known as Pooh-Bah's Party. Another flight of 4 FA-18s are approaching the large airbase H-3 in western Iraq with an E-2 Hawkeye carrier-launched early warning aircraft above. A pair of MiG-29s move to engage the Hornets, but F-15s dive in and easily add 2 more kills to their impressive and growing tally. With 30 miles to go, the E-2 calls out 2 elderly MiG-21s aggressively attacking head-on. The Hornets are impressive multi-role aircraft. Lieutenant Commander Fox switches from ground attack to air-to-air mode with a flick of a switch. He locks onto one MiG, while his wingman locks onto the other. Fox fires a Sidewinder missile, and his wingman fires a Sparrow. Both hit. Both pilots calmly switch their aircraft back to ground attack mode, and almost without breaking step complete their bombing raid on the airfield. A powerful demonstration of the efficiency of multi-role aircraft in modern warfare. Further B-52s and F-111s drop conventional bombs on the elite Iraqi Army Corps, the Republican Guard, to soften them up and as a show of the military power that they're up against. It's claimed that fear of the B-52's conventional bombing capability caused mass Iraqi surrenders later on in the war.
Yeah.
The B-52 is hit by a US missile in a friendly fire incident.
Sorry, there are actually a lot of GIFs and videos out there of Abrams not being hurt at all in the Gulf War or like in Iraq. It's like a fucking firecracker. Huh? What? Oh, it moved to the next GIF? Why would it loop a GIF 20 times but then move to the next one? GIF cat, why? Whatever.
And crashes on the way home. The air assault is going nearly perfectly at this point, but the TAC planners know that statistically their luck must change. And it does. A squadron of FA-18s from the USS Saratoga, known as the Sunliners, are on their way to take part in Pooh-Bah's party, when the leader detects a MiG-25 interceptor in front of them. He requests permission from the AWACS to engage, but the AWACS radar can't find the bandit, and so permission is denied. There are hundreds of coalition aircraft in the air, so rules of engagement are tight to reduce friendly fire. The MiG slips away, but later shoots down another Hornet in the squadron, killing Lieutenant Commander Michael Speicher.
No,
Dawn
we
breaks
lost
in the desert,
one
and
guy
further waves move in.
while destroying
The
their
British
country.
Tornadoes have perhaps the most dangerous job of the first 24 hours. 12 aircraft scream over the desert at just 200 feet towards Talil Air Base. The RAF's 2-seater Tornado GR-1 is a specialist in runway busting. In the first day of a hypothetical hot war with the Soviet Union, Tornadoes would maraud over the border into Eastern Europe to neutralise enemy airfields. Today they carry their specialist weapon, the JP-233, a system that drops a combination of 30 runway cratering bomblets on the runway and 215 anti-personnel mines to hinder the repair process after. Anti-aircraft fire is not...
Don't do anything. Don't do anything mean and anti-humanitarian in your nationwide bombing campaign. Come on, play nice.
Much heavier than expected, as they line up on the 2 parallel runways at 180 feet. Pushing through the barrage, each aircraft releases its 2 JP-233 dispensers. The runways are shredded, and the anti-personnel mines are scattered across both runways and across the airfield, waiting to punish any repair workers who attempt to make the runways operational again. All aircraft make it out, but the crew report that the flak was heavier than forecast, and that they were in fact very lucky to make it back undamaged. A short time later, in the southeast of Iraq, another wing of 4 Tornadoes approach Al Ramallah airbase at low level, each this time with 8 conventional 1,000-pound bombs. Just before the target, the aircraft will pull up into a climb and release their bombs, thereby throwing the bombs in an arc at the target. The downward momentum when they hit allows the bombs to penetrate into the ground before exploding, maximising damage. Because the bombs are released at range, a target computer calculates the precise release moment during the climb. Flight Lieutenants John Peters, the pilot, and John Nichol, the navigator, begin their attack run. Ferocious flak opens up on them, and their aircraft is physically buffeted by the nearby explosions. They begin their climb. There's a problem. They have some kind of fault in their targeting computer, and it's not releasing their bombs.
Can we add a palate cleanser after this segment? It's not a segment. We're learning. I feel like I'm learning. It can't be a stun lock if you're learning, right? Check out this helicopter launch missile bounce off a tank. What? Boink. Boink. Imagine being a tanker and feeling a donk against your hull while driving around, and then later on, like on the internet, you see this video, and you're like, oh.
They continue to climb as they try to quickly rectify the problem. They're now almost twice the height they should be, and very vulnerable.
Looks like it didn't detonate. Yeah, that should have gone off.
And rolls the aircraft nearly upside down to bank and dive away. Descending and accelerating, they make for safety. But just after they level out, they're hit.
These are the helmets the Iraqi elite guard wore? Okay, I don't feel bad for them anymore. Are you kidding me? What the fuck? Why? Never mind. Listen, okay? I take it back, all right? The Gulf War was not about oil. We were the fashion police, all right? Because this is some corny-ass shit.
By a shoulder-launched SAM. Both men eject, but are captured by the Iraqis, suffering severe maltreatment. The airstrikes continue without rest throughout the day, against military and communications installations across the country. By day, A-10 Warthogs hit radar sites along the Iraqi border, similar to those that the Apaches had hit during the night. U-2 spy planes overfly Iraq to search for mobile Scud launchers. Special operations helicopters loiter near Baghdad to pick up downed aircrew. Further coalition aircraft join the strikes from bases in Turkey. 12 French Jaguars attack the Scud missile facility at the Ahmed Al-Jaber Air Base in Kuwait, and 4 take heavy damage from flak. The coalition takes some further losses throughout the day, mostly from
You know what's fucked up? Flak, like flak guns, are very outdated, but they're also super cool. That's what's fucked up. I just think they're cool. That's it. But they're like they're not useless, but like they're just not like the trajectory modern arms have taken. But they're cool.
Aircraft fire on low-level missions. In the evening, 4 elderly A6 intruders are the latest to approach Airbase H3 with laser-guided bombs. They split into 2 pairs and attack from different directions at low level. One aircraft is hit by a SAM. The crew eject and are later captured. Another aircraft is hit, but makes it to Saudi Arabia.
The H3 pod.
Over the first 24 hours of the air war, 2,775 sorties are conducted against strategic Iraqi targets. The Iraqi Air Force flies just 120 sorties, losing 8 aircraft. Some of the Iraqi jets flee to their recent enemy, Iran. 19 coalition aircraft are lost or damaged in day 1. Saddam Hussein declares that the mother of all battles has begun. The air assault continues for 5 weeks, pounding the Iraqi military at a rate of 2,500 bombing sorties per day.
Fuck.
Largely, the Iraqi Air Force, the 4th largest air force in the world, doesn't come out in full force to fight, and therefore the dangerous low-level attacks on airfields are reduced in favour of hitting mobile Scud launchers. 39 coalition aircraft are lost in combat during the air campaign, with another 36 lost in accidents. Gradually, attacks are shifted towards degrading the Iraqi military itself. The ground invasion of Iraq to liberate Kuwait will begin on the 24th of February.
Yes, that's what we were doing. Yes. This is what flak looks like these days? I take it back. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm fully in favor of it. It's just a giant machine gun. Fuck yes. Absolutely. Alright, I'm good with this. We're good.
On the measured muzzle velocity and the
Don't be gay. I just want to see combat footage. Or not combat.
the
Oh, like,
small
what the fuck?
technology uses
What the fuck? Hey, I gotta get some hearing damage being within a mile of that shit. Holy fuck.
technology.
That's okay. It's got to return to tradition, okay? Return to fucking Soviet era Cold War propaganda. Paranoia. Anytime a radar picks up a suspicious signal somewhere in the air, I just fill the atmosphere with like 30 to 40% lead fragments. And you're good.